Good morning, folks. Welcome to my ad hoc ranting program show, internet show. Today is gonna be a video about summing up the rant to the Swede. Like Swedes. I'm just gonna sum it up all together in one point. And of course make observations about the various statements by politicians, who are loyal to Stalinin. And here's how it goes. First and foremost, I'm going to remind you with the equation. So I put 1 plus 1, I got 2. I don't know what you got. You probably got 1.5 or 3, or I don't know. But it is 1 plus 1 equals 2, meaning you either win in Ukraine and make the fight atrocious for those Russians, if they make it to your border in Sweden or any Scandinavian country, they will have been so wounded and so depleted and so destroyed that they will have a hard time even trying to advance on your countries. But that's a big if, of course. Right now, that really literally doesn't exist, and I don't believe Russia is going to constitute any threat to any country the sentiments with sentiments as those of Ukrainians. No. Or Syria for that matter. Now, Syria or even Chechnya on those two wars, where but there it was different. There, everybody stood watching, watching while Russia lost on the ground, and that's a record. It's not like they just lost in Ukraine. No, they lost in Syria and Chechnya and here and there. But in Syria and Chechnya, they resorted to mass genocide by artillery on civilians, by airplanes, by gas, poison gas, and so on. And they consider that a victory. Yeah, it's not a victory, of course, but nonetheless, back to our point. So you can either fight them here and win in Ukraine or anywhere else away from your country. You Swedes, you Scandinavians. I'm going to say Scandinavians. Or you can wait until they're in your and win, and or wait until they're in your country, and you're gonna lose. Why? Because now you're in a corner. They have made it all the way through, and then now in a corner. You cannot just fend them off, because that's gonna cost you a lot of resources and manpower and soldiers and destruction, and let alone pushing them back, right? Pushing them back. You cannot push them back. And the secret for their longevity is because they are a tentacle of Israel, and Israel now is ordering everybody, like China, United States establishment, and here and there, to really support Putin, Stalinin. Otherwise, believe me, he wouldn't have just lost the war in Ukraine. Russia will have collapsed as a country, period. Similar to what happened to them in Afghanistan. They will have suffered the same fate in Syria if the United Arab Emirates and Saudi and Qatar and UAE and Oman and all these Gulf countries didn't support them financially and bear total cost of their expedition in Syria against supposedly their own people, right? Oh, they do that. When you're an Israeli, you're an Israeli. Your loyalty to Tel Aviv, that's it. And kill everybody else, right? That's what they are. So now, that said, uh, you got the lesson, folks, in Scandinavia. And I'm going to repeat it again. You either win in Ukraine, add leverage, add forces, add value to Ukrainians. Like they say you gave them 5,000 anti-tank missiles. Oh, you need to give them 100,000, folks. It's that simple. No less than that, because they need to be effective everywhere. And they carried out a daring raid yesterday into Russia. Those two helicopter pilots. Man, I was in raptures. Oh man, I was in raptures when I saw that. Those two pilots, helicopter pilots, who went and attacked that oil facility. Man, they have guts and they have heart. I don't know. I wish one day to meet them and shake their hand. Man, I'm flabbergasted. I've seen something like this in Syria and Chechnya before, where people, just came very close to the tank and dropped like explosives in the gun, and then the tank exploded, and another one came right in front of the tank, walked and then fired at it, destroyed it, and ran back. That takes guts, man. And in Chechnya, like in the first war and the second war, oh, they showed all kind of bravery. But Ukraine seems to be no short on bravery either. And I have a reason to believe Germanics and Scandinavians are not short on bravery and courage either. Oh man, that makes human. That makes human. Folks, yesterday I was elated. And when I saw that, those two helicopters raid that oil facility, even though they were like their life was in danger, too many jets flying, and if they're discovered, and they were literally, that was a suicide mission there, like, yet when I saw that, I knew Ukraine wasn't going to lose. No, not with those people fighting, not with that person who destroyed the bridge, lose at the cost of his own life, that Ukrainian. And hats off, man. Those Ukrainians. So I don't believe you, folks, whether you're Scandinavian or Germanic or French or whoever it is. I don't think you're less courageous. The only cowardice I saw in this war is that the cabal of post-Stalinins, lizard eyes of Moscow and Tehran and Damascus, and above them is Netanyahu. That's the only cowardice I saw, man. People is when they start slaughtering civilians. But back to our point, anyway. So that's it, folks. This is it, to be or not to be. This is it. You as a country, what are you going to do? Swim to Canada? I'm going to repeat the point again. Well, that point is made. Point number two, between the statement, weigh your options. I'm going to tie the two again together, because the more you think about these 2 points, the more you will understand and realize what's going on. You do not need to go send your intelligence and which is good, right? But to deduce, because your enemy already stated that between the two brothers, Biden and Putin, or Putin, they made a couple of statements that are tied together, that are relevant to get together, that are of the same strategy of two brothers. One said not 1 inch of NATO. One said Finland and Sweden cannot join NATO. I mean, tie the two together. Just tie them together, and you will see as if there's a prior agreement that NATO will not be attacked, but everything else goes to Russia. Just think about it. Everything else, like, they want it to go to Russia. As the two, as if they're reminding each other of some prior agreement. And if you look at Biden, he's supporting Russia. The ruble is being supported from somewhere, and obviously where, by the order of Israel, comes from China and from the United States and Germany and probably England and here and there, and France too, maybe, and Egypt and Gulf Arab countries. Oh, Gulf Arab countries. Oh, you have no idea of those worms, man, those rulers in there. Oh, what they're doing to their own people, They epitomize filth and cowardice and sickness and derangement. Oh man, oh those regimes in the Arab countries and in Iran and here and there. Oh man, and the one who's playing, who's trying to intercede on behalf of Russia with Ukraine, which he will not do for Ukraine, the Erdogans, right? But nonetheless, you're on your own, Scandinavians. If there's an attack, Biden stated that he will not come to your rescue. Well, no, Scandinavia. So that's the point. One is saying not 1 inch of NATO, meaning, there's basically no NATO. He will not defend NATO. One is saying that don't join NATO, like I explained yesterday. What does it mean, really? If you join NATO, he will attack you. If you don't, he will not attack you. It doesn't take a genius. The man is stating his purpose, that he, Mustalini, and his cabal are considering Scandinavia, or at least Finland and Sweden, as something to take over. And you don't have to go analyze, like over-analyze what he's talking about. You know his nature and his history and their history from the moment, from the inception of communism in Russia until now. Like I said, uh, Nazism was there for somewhat 10 years, and from its beginnings until its end, about 10 years, and it was gone, right? With all its horrors. All those elements now, that fringe elements that form, like Nazism and white, supremacist and so on and so on. I'm not saying all of them. They're honeypots, folks. Basic and simple. They were trying to pick off from society who shows interest in such thing, and they immediately target him. Like they're honeypots of the internet, if you know what that is. Honeypots of the internet, like real that websites and internet sites that look real and legitimate to you, but they're really intelligence agencies such as the KGB or FSB or Mossad or NSA or whoever it is. And if you don't have to be anything really, but if you show interest in knowing about certain things like rights of Germans or whatever it is, they immediately target you, and like they bug your computer and so on. And so are these groups of white supremacies and so on. Now, I'm not saying all of them, like the militias in the United States are constitutional, they don't do harm to others, they don't go rob people, they don't go burn buildings, they don't go bomb cities or something like that. It's their constitution, and they profess to protecting the United States Constitution, and they're there because of the United States Constitution. That's all there's to it, folks. But now many of them are, quite few of them are, especially in Europe, in Germany, they're honeypots, really. They basically sitting there in waiting, lying in wait until a victim passes by who loves Germany and talks about Germans and so on, and they snag them, right, or hair or whatever. So that's you, Swedes. Now, I want to emphasize on you, now is the time, and nobody will say shit, nobody will say anything about you or your choices or your actions. You should now disperse and ramp up the military or defense industry, whether it's sub airplanes or anti-tanks or anti-aircraft weapons, into the other Scandinavian countries and Holland. And of course, you need to do your research. You're not going to go like send it to Russia by way of proxy, no, or Syrian regime or Iran or something of the sort, right? You may think they're your brother of belief or not. Oh, folks, you do not know. You do not know those people. So it's time to ramp up and unify a shared defense between all 5 Scandinavian countries. Believe me, you will not go wrong with that. You share the budget, share the industry, share the technology, and ramp up production. Because post-Stalin, and of course he knows, how does he know? By way of Israel, right? That you are now ready to put up a fight that will cost them a lot, and they will refrain, from attacking you. Basic and simple. Now here's a very, very important point for you guys. Here's a very important point for you, especially the Baltic states and Poland and other countries. Listen carefully to this, because post-Stalin, like I said, now listen to this to the end. This is very important. Post-Stalin is on a mission, a historic mission that existed, and it's a string, like I said, it's a bead in a string of beads that extends thousands of years back. He's on a mission, like that deep, dark religious mission, to subdue Europe, of course, overseen by Israel and Netanyahu's and so on. So them being defeated in Ukraine, for them, it's not acceptable, folks. You don't understand. You don't know those people. Israel will manage a way, right? But they will not, because now they discovered they have far bigger. They're in disarray. Let's put it this way. But is that going to deter them? No, folks, it's not going to deter them. And so I'm talking to you, Swedes and Scandinavians and Germanics and everybody else in there. Right now, the priority and the intensity of their hatred and their loath has increased by many folds. I can observe it here in the United States. I can clearly see it. They're going to attack again and again and again until they have achieved that final purpose and final solution for Europe. Believe me, folks, it is no less. No less. So here's the point. Here comes that important point. Losing in Ukraine, they may try to compensate for that or substitute for that by a sucker punch. Do you know what that means? Sucker punch? Like they lost in Ukraine and suddenly they launch an attack against Baltics or somewhere else and they score success in there. For them, if they, like, you understand what I'm saying? You Swedes, you Germanics, you Romanians, you Bulgarians, you Hungarians, you Polish, you Baltics, you Germanics, you whoever you are, Switzerland, you name it. They may do just that. Of course, they don't have the numbers and whatever it is, so resources, let's say, to commit to such like sudden move. But that's always possible. Remember this rule: Stalinians and the Netanyahus will never change. If they have this religious intention, and they will not change it, folks. Oh no, they will not. They will only change it in two situations. One is they're so beaten that they cannot do it anymore. Their resources and their dominance of other people, where they send them to kill and get killed, and that's no longer possible. And then they will hold back, right? Because they don't attack by themselves; they send others, right? Two, if they're only completely removed. In Moscow, it is very possible, but difficult. Let's put it this way. I am hopeful. I am confident that in Moscow they have suffered like a very extensive damage now that they may not be able to continue. And if they cannot continue, they will never stand up again to do what they've done in Ukraine. Let's put it this way. They may be able to pull something like Syria, like bomb cities into rubbles and kill mass people, genocide on civilians by way of gas and they have many other things they never declare, of course, that they use against civilians. Oh man, what they've done in Syria and Chechnya against those people. And they keep telling you about ISIS and Qaeda, that that's whom they're fighting. ISIS and Qaeda is actually their allies of Iran and of Syria and of Putin and of Erdogan, and all of them, they're agents, pawns of Netanyahu, period, folks. And they're very few, actually. They're not many. So when they accused the Sunnis of being Qaeda and ISIS, they went about like murdering Sunnis who have nothing to do with it. And where was Qaeda and ISIS? Oh, they were watching on the sidewalk somewhere in Tel Aviv or Tehran or Moscow or Istanbul or like in the Gulf Arab countries and so on. Now, the last point I want to tell you is yesterday's attack on that oil facility was, Ukrainians demonstrated something pretty big yesterday. And here in the news outlets, there was anger. There was anger. I heard this news anchor, national news anchor, saying how is Russia going to respond, like he was angry, and the correspondent who was talking to him on, via some fiber channel or fiber cables or something from Russia or Ukraine. He says, "Oh, militarily, like they were stunned," and you would not expect those media outlets in the U.S., whether it's CNN, whether it's Fox, whether it is whoever it is, to be so angry as if they were hit on their, personally who suffered losses in there. Like it's mind-boggling. So obviously, the United States and everyone else is really trying to support Stalin. That's why you Swedes and you Scandinavians and Germanics and everybody else. That's why it is now time, because and that's like a galactic size. If if they come to your country, they will help them more than they will help Mussolini to take over your country, just like they're trying to help them take over Ukraine now. You can undermine that by participating fully in the fight in Ukraine. Oh yeah, you Australians, you may say like you're oceans away from you. No, 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 you don't understand those folks, man. You don't understand those people. Right now they're on this World War Z. Really, Z is for Zion, right? Or World War Z, by that movie by Brad Pitt. You know, World War Z for Zion, right? Get it? Yeah. Okay. Good. I hope you you heed the warning, folks, because like I said, you have two choices. If right now two choices: win in Ukraine and fight it all the way to your borders, but of course that's not going to happen. Or swim to Canada, which you cannot do, of course, you know. And why would you want to do that, anyways? Because now you cannot, like Ukrainians, God forbid, if Ukrainians have to, like they're going to become refugees, they go to Germany or Poland or anywhere else. There you don't have Poland or Germany. You have to go east west, right? You know, that's an awesome task. You know, that's a very difficult ocean to cross, if you will, and nobody is going to help you. No, they may help you, you know, like evacuate some of you because they want to make it possible for Pustalini to take over. That's why they do evacuations anyway, actually, because they want to. Just like they did in Syria, right? Evacuated Sunnis and so on, and guess what? You know, they made it made empty towns, and now guess what? You know, they were United Nations is actively supporting the regime in Syria, is actively supporting Hezbollah, and paying them to send fighters to fight with Russia against Ukraine now. Scandinavians, do you realize the size of the problem that you have on your hand and the size of how intricate the conspiracy is, and that your future is on the line? Don't worry about anybody else. Go form common defense and with the other Scandinavians, go disperse that military industry and ramp it up and get ready to go. And oh, you want to give Ukraine? Don't give them 5,000. Just 5,000 anti-tank missiles. Give them 100,000, and make sure some of it lands in around in that south east area. That's where there's plenty of those orcs in there, so they can. If they get into a jam in there, and they're in the jam already, I think they are a very big jam. They want to afford the north, you know, of Ukraine. Have a nice day, my friends, and. This rant today is very useful, and I hope you heed the warning, you Scandinavians, you Swedes, you Norwegians, you Denmark, Danish, you Finnish, you Icelandic, or now is the time, folks. Now is the time. Don't let anybody impress on you that you're going to be left alone. No, nobody, whoever it is. Right now, there are certain times when you take matters into your own hand, regardless of the international, community or Israel or America or anybody else. There are times when you really have to take matters into your own hands, especially if it comes to your own survival and your own future and the future of your country and that of your population. Nice day, my friends. And thanks for watching my ad hoc rant for today.